The propulsion system on one of the Coast Guard's cutting-edge vessels failed just days before it was scheduled for a high-stakes deployment. Every engineer available ran diagnostics, replaced modules, tested subsystems, but the issue remained buried deep, unsolved. Then someone uttered a name long erased from official files. When Marcus Vance entered the hangar, sleeves rolled up, jumpsuit covered in old oil, and a steel listening rod slung under one arm, people paused. He asked for silence, not just to listen to the engine, but to reclaim something the Navy had taken from him years ago, his purpose. Marcus lived near the outskirts of a port town called Driftwood Hollow, in an aging shed once used as a marine engine service hub. What had been a bustling workplace in the 70s was now his workshop, home, and sanctuary. Along the walls, rusted propellers leaned beside crates of outdated bearings. He had a rack of tools older than some of the techs on base, and a dusty shortwave radio that still hummed every dawn. As a kid, Marcus had a strange intuition for machines. At 10, he turned a discarded go-kart frame into a working ride using a chainsaw motor. By 16, he was fixing the ferryboat engines that ran across the bay. Nobody taught him. It was instinct. Later, Marcus became a propulsion systems chief in the Coastal Defense Corps. He had his hands in everything from turbine retrofits to icebreaker overhauls. His crown achievement, helping design the prototype for the Sentinel-class response cutters. But all that changed after a drill off Greenland. A catastrophic failure during engine calibration grounded the vessel. The incident was pinned on Marcus. Neglect, they said. No hearing, no appeal, just a sterile letter, a forced exit, and a silence that lingered for years. He returned to Driftwood Hollow, working on old trawlers and crab boats. Locals still respected him, often calling when something broke they couldn't figure out. Sometimes he'd teach teenagers from the trade school, passing down what books couldn't explain. Then one Wednesday, a strange number lit up his ancient flip phone. He wiped a layer of grime off the screen. "Vance here," he grunted. "Commander Roland Kane, Atlantic Systems Division," said the voice. Marcus paused. That name. Kane was a junior technician when Marcus was still enlisted. Smart, ambitious. "Well, I'll be," Marcus said. "Thought you disappeared into a cubicle by now." Kane didn't laugh. "Marcus, we're in trouble. It's one of the Sentinels. Engine won't stabilize under load. For separate teams have failed to isolate the problem. The ship's mission starts in 72 hours. Marcus looked at the torn-down gearbox in front of him. "And you want me?" he said flatly. "We've already initiated clearance reinstatement. We're sending transport." Marcus didn't answer. He walked outside. Driftwood Bay was calm. He took a deep breath. "Fine," he muttered. "Send the damn car." The following morning, a black SUV pulled up outside his shed. Marcus tossed his tools into an army green duffel and climbed in. The drive to Fort Bristol Naval Complex was long and silent. When they arrived, uniformed guards eyed him with suspicion. He didn't look like someone clear to be on base. Graying beard, oil-stained boots, and that dented metal case in his hand. Inside the maintenance hangar, the Coast Guard cutter Valiant was docked. Dozens of engineers buzzed around it, heads down, tools flashing. But all eyes turned when Marcus entered. "That's the consultant?" a tech whispered. Marcus ignored them. Commander Kane approached and extended a hand. "Good to see you again, Marcus." Marcus nodded, grip firm. "Let's see the engine." They entered the diagnostics bay. Polished floor, humming lights, cables coiled like serpents. The turbine lay stripped, its core exposed. Readouts blinked on monitors. Nearby, Chief Analyst Tenor, a stiff man with wireframe glasses, stood waiting. "Mr. Vance," Tenor said, not bothering with pleasantries. "This engine loses output at high RPM. We've tested every valve, pressure line, and sensor circuit. We've replaced the inlet manifolds twice. Did you inspect the mounting braces?" Marcus asked. Tenor raised an eyebrow. "Irrelevant. Structural components, past inspection." "Run it," Marcus said. "We can't," Tenor snapped. "It's unstable." Marcus walked over, pulled a rod from his case, and rested it against the turbine casing. He placed the other end to his ear. "You want the answer or not?" Tenor hesitated. Kane finally nodded. "Do it." 30-second idle. 20 seconds under load. Engines roared. The sound swelled. Marcus closed his eyes. The vibrations changed. At 19 seconds, he raised a hand. Cut it. The silence that followed felt unnatural. Not your parts, Marcus said. Your shaft alignment's off. The harmonic frequency drifts during high RPM, causes imbalance. Your diagnostics didn't catch it because you tested cold. Tenor scoffed. That's absurd. Laser align the axial couplings, Marcus replied, grabbing his bag. Or don't. I've done my part. As he walked away, a young tech whispered, Who even is that guy? Back at his workshop, Marcus was welding a fuel bracket when his phone rang. Vance. It was Tenor. His tone had changed. We did what you said. Check the shaft alignment under thermal expansion load. You were right. The offset registered at high temperature. The turbine was moments from full failure. You saved the ship. There was a pause. Then he added, The commander wants you back at base tomorrow. There's something they want to give you. The next morning, a chopper kicked up the shoreline dust as it landed near Marcus's dock. A young officer stepped out, saluting. Mr. Vance, your ride's here. Marcus picked up his toolbox, gave his cat a nod goodbye, and boarded. At Fort Bristol, this time there were no skeptical looks. Officers stood waiting, solemn. Commander Kane stepped forward. Marcus Vance, he said, offering an envelope. Your consultancy pay, and more importantly, your name cleared. The investigation from years ago was reopened. The logs were wrong. You didn't fail. We did. Another officer stepped up. It was Tenor. I learned more from one conversation with you than months of simulations. Thank you. Marcus allowed a faint grin. Just listen to what the machine was trying to say. As he boarded the return flight, he looked back at the Valiant now, prepped for launch. Its engines hummed evenly, powerful and steady. In the sky, Marcus watched the ship shrink beneath the clouds. Once the source of his downfall, now proof of his skill. The wind outside buffeted the chopper, but inside, all he felt was balance. Balance restored. As the coastline vanished beneath the helicopter's rising shadow, Marcus sat quietly by the window, watching the ocean stretch out like a vast sheet of steel-gray glass. Below, the Valiant moved with purpose again, slicing through the water with its engines humming true, a sound only he had truly listened to. He didn't feel vindicated, not exactly. This wasn't some grand moment of redemption, no cheering crowd, no medals. It was something quieter, something real. The satisfaction of doing the work right, of hearing a machine's silent plea when no one else could, of fixing what everyone else had overlooked, not with algorithms or scans, but with gut, grit, and experience. For years, they had written him off. A footnote in a report, a casualty of bureaucracy. But today, the machine had spoken, and in doing so had told the truth for him. In the seat across from him, the young officer who'd greeted him at the dock shifted awkwardly. Sir, he said, is it true you once rebuilt a diesel turbine from scrap? Marcus looked over, raised an eyebrow. Depends. Are you asking because you're curious, or because someone told you a tall story? The officer grinned. Bit of both. Marcus chuckled. It had been a long time since he laughed that easily. Well, next time you're in Driftwood Hollow, I'll show you the old crate I pulled it from. The officer nodded, then returned to silence. So did Marcus. As the helicopter banked inland, Marcus leaned his head against the cold plexiglass. He'd never asked for applause, and he didn't need forgiveness. What mattered was simple. The ship would sail, the mission would launch, and the truth, however long it took, had finally surfaced. He wasn't just the man who fixed the engine. He was the one who still listened when no one else did. And that, in the end, made all the difference. Outside, the sky brightened slightly as the clouds began to part, revealing a sliver of sun on the horizon. It wasn't much, but it was enough. Just enough light to see the path forward. And for Marcus Vance, that was all he ever needed.